one, any school that throws a kid out, especially in high school, without making sure there's an appropriate school for that kid to go to is chayav misa. Period. End of story. I wouldn't let somebody walk into my house with a gun and shoot somebody. You do that in a school, you murdered that kid. I don't care who you are and how big your school is and what fancy names are on your building. You're a murderer. And we need to be able to tell that to those schools. Anyone here who sits on a board of a school, make that clear. Enough of this. We also need to educate the parents a lot better. I'm sorry. We also need to educate our parents better on Chanaych Lenar Al Pi Darkei. Parents have to send kids to schools that are appropriate for those kids too. And if we as parents only want to send our kid to an elitist school that has a certain brand name or a ring to it, and our kid is not meant for that, we are also killing our kids. And that's got to stop as well. And we see that all too often. We also need to make sure, and I'm going to say this very quickly only because this is what this event was about, and I like people to know the truth. So first of all, 7 of the 11 karbonis in the last 5 weeks, we know for sure were thrown out of schools, and more than one, without a replacement being found. That we know for a fact. We also know for a fact that early detection in all of those cases would have been tremendous, whether it's figuring out that these kids were molested when they were younger, had learning disabilities, had other issues at home. These are things that we have the power to empower our school systems to change, and that's what we have to do. You know, I give a lot of credit to Rabbi David Ozeri, who got up at the Aguda convention, or Torah Masorah convention, I forget which one, and spoke about how our rebbeim have to be paid more, and he's right. And of course, since my wife's a teacher, teachers should be paid more also, but we'll deal with that as well. But he's right. And that's all important. But if we're not doing our part in keeping our kids safe in the school setting, figuring out their issues and getting them early help, what are we doing? Schools, like Rabbi Wyler Jacobson said last week, became a systems. It's a system of systems. And everyone plugs into the box. And if you fit in the box, you're good. And you don't fit in the box, you're bad. Guess what? I'd love nothing more than to go out of business at Amudim, and not because of lack of funds. Put me out of business. Get the schools to do their jobs. I beg you all. That, to me, would be a huge personal favor, probably to my wife and kids as well. But it's important to note a few things, and I'm going to wrap up. Number one, if you show up in a Kiddush on Shabbos, and you offer a guy next to you a l'chaim, and he says no, don't ask him again. You don't know if that person is refusing that drink because they are sober, because they are in recovery. You don't want to be the cause to push that addict back to the alcoholism that destroyed their life until that point, just because you want to be able to say that you had a l'chaim with so-and-so. They say no, it ends. Done. Another thing, stop personifying alcohol as something special. I grew up in a house, we made a l'chaim between the fish and the meat, that was it. I think my father still has that same bottle of whatever label it was called, or I don't even know what it was, from before my bar mitzvah. I see people coming home from these trips to Europe and Israel, and they're buying this 35-year specialty thing, putting it on top of the cabinet. What are you teaching your kids when you do that? What are you showing them? This is what's important. This expensive bottle of booze is what I look up to. How do you expect your child to not want to do that? That's a simple trick. You enjoy alcohol, kol hakavod. I believe in moderation, not prohibition. No problem, enjoy it. Like a mensch. Have a glass of wine. You want to talk to a friend about a quality wine? No problem. Don't make that the focal point of your Shabbos Suda or your Kiddush. And I can tell you, and I know Ohel gets these calls a lot, and we certainly get them at Amudim from wives whose husbands make 11 stops on the way home from shul, and each stop they have, of course, this other bottle and this next bottle, and by the time they roll home, forget about the fact, the language, the abuse to the wife, to the kids. Is this a way that we as from Yidden live? Absolutely not. We want to talk about addiction, we'll talk about where it starts. Schools and homes. Let's be the examples that our children and the next generation need us to be. At the end of the day, this is why we're here. And I really want to say thank you, Mel, for really cheering this event tonight. And Jack, and Kesty. And I want to thank Derek Sager, who's hiding someplace, and David Miguel from Ohel. And I'm going to end with a quick story. People, especially last summer, when I decided to go on the attack on the world for not dealing with these issues. So I learned something from our illustrious president, but I did it before the election. Every time I got attacked, I just doubled down and went further. And I'll keep doing it, because kids are dying, something's got to happen. You know, we can all go back and go to sleep at night. Unfortunately, it's not as easy for me. So people like to make fun of me. They see me on the street and go, what's the number up to? So I send out an email every week and I detail the deaths, and I don't mind publicizing it. You know, usually a week or two behind. People shouldn't always figure it out. And at the most recent Levaya, I'll never forget, 3 Levayas ago, where after we walked out, the father was holding mine and Rabbi Wallerstein's hand. We were walking out together. And somebody made this comment in front of the father, and I thought this was great. It was, so Gluck, you happy now? You got another number to talk about. And the father looked at this guy and said, what did you just say? That number is my daughter. That's not a number we're talking about. And then he turned to me and said, Tzvi, please talk about it. This is not just a number. There are still people very insensitive to this. And then people like to say to me, do you think you're really going to make a difference? I say, I really don't know, but I'll certainly try. But I'm going to say this story and then I'll end. Everybody here has heard of the organization called Dar Yesharim, right? So Dar Yesharim was founded by a Rabbi Eckstein who unfortunately lost a number of children due to Tay-Sex. And when he started Dar Yesharim, I don't want you to think for 1 second that he didn't have fighting on him. He was put into Cheder. Rabbanim said, what do you think, you're playing God? Who should marry who? His life was really made to be a living Gehenna. But he fought it. And to the point now that it's household, I don't know any high school or seminary that doesn't try to get their kids ready to do the test. Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center had a Tay-Sex ward. Tay-Sex ward back then was a fancy way of saying hospice for children that were going to die anyway. A couple of years ago, they called up Rabbi Eckstein and they asked him to please come for an important meeting that they needed to have in the hospital. And he shows up at the meeting, and there was an entire ceremony. They were waiting for him. They were rededicating and renaming that ward to something else because they haven't had a new case in a number of years. That's a man that changed the world by putting up a fight. This week, we learned the Parsha of Pinchas. And I look at one of my mentors, the late Rabbi Ronnie Greenwald, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh L'Vracha, as someone who was a Pinchas in his generation. And I say, we all now have the obligation to be the Pinchas in this generation. To stand up for what's right, not for what's popular. Take that kid on the street, show him you love him, show her you care. Support in any way you can, emotional, financial, going to the schools, pressure, communal, do whatever you can so that we can only speak about good things. Thank you very much.